Hey YouTube, tonight we are doing an open yard, and so we do these from time to time in the summertime, and we take people through our property and specifically all the stuff that we've done right as well as all the stuff we've done wrong. And so typically we start our open yard in the backyard, and we basically give a 1 hour introduction to permaculture. It's probably closer to an hour. Sometimes they go as long as two. And so we talk about the principles of permaculture and how water is central to the successful design of any property, both large and small. And really contrast what they see here on this property with what we see on our neighbors. And it's a pretty stark difference with regards to what most properties look like relative to a permaculture design property. And so we talk about rainwater, and given that we live in an urban context, the top of our watershed is the top of our roof. Check out these cherries. Because the roof is so much higher than the rest of the property, we are pretty much not limited to where we can take the water. So we try and always harvest it, clean it with a rain head, and then store it in a tank, if that makes sense to do. And in doing that, it gives us options with regards to where we end up sending the water. Check out this Saskatoon. It's just covered in berries right now. It's going to be a good year for Saskatoons. And so on this side of the property, this is our food forest, this really epic rhubarb right now. I let it go to seed this year. I've just never really let rhubarb go to seed, but it's kind of interesting to watch it. I like running new experiments in my food forest, even if the gardening books tell you not to do it, because if you've never tried it, how do you know what's going to happen? And rhubarb is a pretty cool plant, so I wanted to see what would happen when I let it go to seed. It's very easy to propagate too, so if it does die as a result of going to seed, I can always plant it again. So we have a rain tank up here. I don't really like these for rain tanks. I go through why they don't make sense to use as rain tanks. First of all, the tanks themselves are too small. So, this half of my roof easily puts out 15,000 liters of water per year. And so 1,000 liters really isn't very much water relative to the 15,000. But you'll see that the roof catchment itself has got a diverter valve. Those are really important in terms of diverting in the winter time. Sorry, I got to figure out how to get my hand to go in the right direction. There we go. So that's the winter time, and then there's the summertime. And that little device right there, if I can get my hand in the right place, is a rain head, which I've talked about in other YouTube videos. You can check that out. Raspberry. And so when the rain tank is full, it actually overflows down into here. So these guys are, coming back to this, these guys are too small. I don't like the transparent nature of the plastic. You can remedy that by painting it or putting some sort of a covering over top of it, but why not just get a proper rain tank? They're not that expensive. And in fact, if you add it up in terms of dollars per liter, it's really not that big of a deal to get a proper rain tank. As we've grown, you can see that this side of the food forest has really done well because, again, we got the water piece right. So I've shown this in other videos, but we actually managed to get our neighbor's downspout in exchange for a case of Budweiser. And so it feeds, let's see if I can get this up here. It feeds into, my finger, into the swale here, which is also a swale trail. And we can walk through that and see if I can do it backwards and get a sense of what's in here. So we've got sea buckthorn, honeyberry, one of the best plants in Alberta to grow, just because it produces fruit so early on with these amazing mulch pathways, which just are so great for fungi. Again, here I'll get a high shot. So really nice to walk. You can see I'm walking my bare feet. We've got an apple tree right there, lots of currants, honeyberry in there, cherries. There's an asparagus fern right there, so we get asparagus coming out of here. We've got our little strawberry patch right over here. It does quite well. It's a little bit sad this year. And this is a plum, yeah, an Opata cherry plum. And this guy's really struggled. It got all of its leaves eaten this year by some worms, which actually were annihilated by the little baby bird that we have in the backyard. And it was really interesting to watch it. Again, I didn't intervene, and it's just sprouted new leaves. So it sent out another set of buds, which I'm sure costed a lot of energy. But it's come back, and hopefully this time when it comes back, it is a little bit stronger. We've got our sea buckthorn, one of my favorite plants. It's got quite a few berries this year. The leaves are great for tea. If you haven't seen that YouTube video, there's one of my YouTube videos that talks about using sea buckthorn with yerba mate for tea. It's a really lovely combination. And so lots and lots of layers in this food forest. We've got overstory, midstory, understory, shrub layer, ground cover, even a vining layer, which is volunteered on its own. Really trying to take advantage of as much sun as possible. And one of the reasons it does so well is because of all the water that we send to it passively through our water harvesting system. So recently we've added rabbits. I'm not overly happy with this rabbit system. It's okay. I want to make much bigger runs for these guys. We've got straw on the bottom here so that it's not so hard on their feet, and it's collecting some of the urine. All of the rabbit droppings end up in the compost bin down below, which then ends up composting, and we've got great compost for our gardens. As you can see, we've got lots of straw contributed by my buddy Dakota Cohen from his farm, and so that's acting as straw for the garden, but also for our bunnies. And this year's been just a really great year for the garden in general. We've had lots of heat, quite a bit of rain, and things are really going off. And so again, this garden is entirely designed around rainwater harvesting. And if you've watched some of our YouTube videos, you can see that we harvest pretty much every drop on the property. So we've got water coming from up there, which comes down the pipe, under the stairs, and then over to our tire pond. Our tire pond then overflows into our path system. And then when our path system is too full, it actually overflows down into the bottom garden right here. The bottom garden has the same type of swale system over here. So we've got a mulch pathway, and it goes all the way around the back there. And we feed our garage roof water into the pathway as well, right down here. And it contributes to that water harvesting. Now, the two roofs that we struggled to get the water off of was the back roof here of the house, and then our outdoor kitchen, which I'll talk about in a second. And so that water now comes into this underground tank right here, which I'm standing on, and we get access to that water via a sump pump, which is right underneath here, and it's chocker full right now. You can kind of see the water in there. And so that sump pump, when we turn it on, feeds a hose, which is now currently unwrapped. It's typically sitting over here, right over here. And we use that to water our passive solar greenhouse. And we recently took one of the beds out of the passive solar greenhouse to create some space for the kids to play in the wintertime. Mostly we grow tomatoes. We have a volunteer sunflower in here, which is kind of cool. We've kind of contemplated rebuilding the inside and kind of making the beds more efficient. So this year is kind of a bit of a quote-unquote holiday from the greenhouse. Lots more productivity that can come out of there right now, but we're just trying to decide what we're going to do with it next. We've got some big planters. This is actually the hottest part of our yard, and so we try and plant this out as well. We've got some squash right here, Another wiking bed. This came out of the greenhouse. So we wanted to try and use it outside and see what would happen. We've got two compost bays, sorry. And then I've talked about this in past. We've got a mud kitchen back there where the kids can create chaos, and it doesn't harm anything. Lastly, from an energy system perspective, we've got our solar thermal array, and so that collects most of our hot water for our house. And it does a really great job. I've got a whole bunch of videos on that on the YouTube channel as well, so if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. We've got all our chairs out tonight just because we're getting ready for open yard, so we're going to go put that together. And then this is one of my favorite elements on the whole property, which is our turtle cob oven, built by our friends at Dirtcraft Natural Building. And so this guy here is double chamber or double dome. So we've got a thermal cob layer right here. Sorry, I guess I'm pointing the wrong place. And then an insulative cob right there. And so typically when I'm cooking in here, I cook with a live fire. We do a lot of pizzas in there, a lot of community events during our permaculture design courses, as well as just events that we run for our friends. So we have a lot of pizza parties for the kids out here. Lastly, I guess what I should say is we've completely retrofitted the house. So the house has new windows on it as of, well, I guess it's not that recent, but triple pane windows. We increased the insulation on the house by a factor of 10. So the energy consumption is super low on this house. It's really, really energy efficient and comfortable in the wintertime. I think the biggest mistake we made in that retrofit was choosing a green color. I think ideally I would choose a white or a beige or something lighter that would reflect more light. That was a bit of an oversight on my behalf. So recommend that you don't choose dark colors in climates like this. It's not great. It tends to overheat the house in the wintertime. So anyways, if you've never been to one of our yards and you're interested in some of the stuff that we're doing on the permaculture front, on the renewable energy front, on the retrofit front, on the rainwater harvesting front, on the food growing areas, I recommend that you check it out. If you are not aware of where to find out about our open yards, make sure you sign up for our newsletter. We have a new 60-page ebook for free that we give to all of our permaculture design courses. And now you can get started on permaculture yourself with our incredible 60-page book. So I'll leave a link to that in the show notes below. It's completely free. We send it to your inbox, and you can read all about it and get started on permaculture if you haven't already done so. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys all real soon. And hopefully we'll see you at an open yard in the future. Thanks.